So I've always accepted God, you could say, and believed in God, but didn't really practice God's ways in life and everything.
My grandfather was a Baptist pastor, minister. So I went to church with my grandparents every Sunday, but at my house there was nothing. My parents tried going to church before, and my mom would run out crying.
Prior to me and my wife, another girl I was with, we had a daughter who I lost at 3 months old in 2004, and so that's what really turned my life around to the worst, though, was that losing my daughter, and then we separated, and I went on a path of drugs and just criminal activity, you could say. Ended up about 4 years later going to prison for it.
When I hit my teenage years, I kept falling asleep at church, so I really wasn't into it. My grandparents made me sit through the whole thing, and then they started the Wednesday night youth groups, and I started going to that, and my grandpa's like, well, if you keep falling asleep, you can't do both. You gotta do both or you do none. So I stopped.
While I was in jail, waiting to go to prison, like in the county jail, going through trial and everything, I think I was blaming God for everything, blaming him for losing my daughter, blaming him for everything I did wrong and everything that was going wrong in my life. And then when I arrived in prison, the guy that was in the bunk next to me, he was actually a pastor's son who was actually serving a 20-year sentence. And he actually ended up starting the Christian church inside the prison. And they were having people from outside churches come in and preach every week. And he started getting me to go, and I started doing Bible studies with him and reading the Bible. And all of a sudden, just big picture came over me, and life can be so much better. And when I accepted Jesus Christ, my whole life changed.
This year on Mother's Day, my 2-year-old fell out of a 2-story window. And it was the most horrific thing I've ever been through. So we get to the hospital, and they said they were going to do CT scans because they felt like he had a skull fracture because he had a huge lump on his head. They were also going to do an x-ray on his arm because it was really banged up. So I was sitting in the room all night waiting, and they're like, oh, we're going to do it tomorrow. So I just sat there all night and just prayed for everything to be okay. And they did the scans the next morning. I waited like 5 hours for the results for the doctor to come back. And his head was fine, but he had a massive ear infection called mastoiditis that he had for a couple months, and he showed no signs of it. And they said that he was a couple days away from it turning into meningitis and taking over his brain. And if he hadn't fallen out that window, we would have never found it. So it was a blessing in disguise, and it truly shows that he does have a plan for us. Even if we don't know what it is at that moment, he does know.
Getting baptized, I felt like this is something that's always been missing. I asked to get baptized while I was actually incarcerated, and they wanted to do that there. And I just feel like I need that to get the 100% bond with him. I want him to be a part of my life 100%, 110%, and always be there. And I feel like this is the bond I need.
To never give up hope, and just know he has a plan for you. And even when you're at the lowest of your lows, he has a way for you to come back. And I want to be able to help other people realize that.